Hello and welcome back to another VideoDust tutorial, and in this one we're going to speak about the effect called pieces. So what does it do? Well, it splits your input video into separate fragments and places those into a 3D environment. And if we call up some footage, our favorite cellist, bring up the mix. I've started with one piece, and if we move over here to the interface, we have the shape drop down, and you have cube, circle, sphere, and plane. And above that, the texture drop down. So the global texture, it applies the video over the entire 3D scene, and the multiple texture will apply the video to each individual piece. Get back to a sphere here. Now render mode. So first one I have is plane. So this renders the input video as a plain texture on each piece. And if I choose half grid, that will render the video on one side, grid on the other, and it's easier to see if I use a plane. And half dots is image on one side, dots on the other, and then full grid and full dots. Now, when using render mode in grid or dots, you drop down to line width. This is common in almost all the VideoDust effects. In the render modes, you have control over the line size. Let's make that a full grid. You have control over the line width. And if you're using dot mode, you have control over the dot size. So next we have the X and Y numbers. Let's go back to a sphere. And what that does, it tells you how many pieces you want in the 3D environment. So we have X1, Y1, which is essentially why we have one sphere. So if we add another, say, 1 by 7, that will add another 7 elements. And let's bring the distance back a bit. So we've added more pieces into the 3D environment, and within pieces there's a physics element, and that is the whole time there's a central force in the center of the 3D environment, and that force is controlled by this zoom in and out slider. So if I slide it to the right, that force will push these pieces out towards the outside, and if I drop it back down, it would pull them back to the middle. And as long as the slider's in the middle, anywhere to the left of the center, it will keep them attracted to each other. And if I go to the right, they repel each other. Anytime you change the X and Y number here, so if we add another 7, pieces will place these in the 3D environment randomly. So if you keep the zoom to the left, it will keep everything into the center. You drop the dot size here. And below that we have the global spin and spin rate. Global spin is controlled by the global spin slider. And the indie spin, which is individual spin, controls how much each individual piece is going to spin. So if I kill the global spin, so now the spinning's only happening individually. And if I was to turn that off, dead still. Bring that back up. So underneath that we have positioning, X, Y, Z, and then we have width, height, and depth. And one thing I have overlooked is essentially the red, green, blue up here. These are your color controls, which is a global control over the whole 3D environment. So if we get back to width, height, and depth, I'm going to change to another preset. Illustrates this a bit better. So what I've done is I've changed the presets, changed the shape to a plane, and we have 1 by 5 planes in the 3D environment. And so if I adjust the width, say to 10, bring the height, say 1, and you can start to see what it's doing to these each individual piece. So if I change to preset 2, and what this is doing is we've chosen 20 by 20 pieces in the 3D environment, and circle for a shape, global texture. So if I was to change this now to multiple texture, each one of those shapes has the texture, the input video. Go back to global. And if we come down here, we have red, green, blue on 50%. And we've chosen circles as shape, and because those are triangles, that's because we've lowered the X and Y dimensions for each shape. So if I was to increase these dimensions, these will slowly come back to circles because we're increasing the resolution. If I drop these back down, and then you can come up with various shapes by adjusting these resolutions. Now another preset, 3, is using full spheres, and preset 5 is using circle as a shape, and the render mode is dots. And it's 20 by 30, so we have 20 by 30 pieces in the center of the environment. And we've added a bit of smear
and a touch of bloom amount and blur.
Okay, well that is Pieces. Enjoy. Thank you.